Just a refresher for the group. Coach Bobby is up for Coach of the Year award. Tristan Henry is up for the Golden Glove, and Kyle Becker is up for Player of the Year. Hi, Coach. Thanks very much for joining us. First question is from Steve Milton from the Hamilton Spectator. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Bobby.
How's it going, Steve?
Okay. You guys have caught what I would call is now becoming a traditional bit of a role here right now. So take a little while for you guys to get going. And what are the factors in that? Is partly at the gelling of that back five?
In this tournament, I think, to be honest, we've been consistent. We've probably done a better job in the last few games of just shutting things down on opponents. Obviously, we've had a couple of shutouts, one goal in this last round of 3 games, and I think it's just about getting the games in. I think that's important. We're a team that likes to play. We're a team that likes to dictate a lot of the pace of the game, and sometimes in those early games, we shut down a little bit defensively. But that's a normal process when you're playing your first games in the season. But I think that went away after the first couple of games, and from there it's been very good.
I'm sure you won't reveal anything about specific tactics here, but Wanderers, and we've mentioned this many times before, have had the most success in kind of plug in the middle against you, both in effectiveness of the passing to the outside lanes, but also the guys being able to cut in from the wing, which is one of your trademarks. How do you sort of, in general, combat that?
Yeah, I think if you look at the games we've played 2 games here at the tournament, and if you look at them, we've actually done a pretty good job getting on the outsides against Halifax. We've had a lot of success there. We just haven't done it enough. Sometimes we get away from what works very well in the game. So that's one thing we've been able to see. And then if they get stretched further, we'll have space in the middle of the park. We're obviously a team that has a distinct way of playing. They'll look at the counterattack, look to clog up the field, and when you're playing on a smaller pitch, like we're playing over here in PEI, it's a very effective way for a team to play.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Neil Davidson.
Thank you, Aaron. Bobby, congratulations on your team's run at the tournament. Just following up on Steve's question, obviously you know this Halifax team well, having played them twice with what looked to be tight draws. What did you take away from those 2 games, and with your view on Halifax?
Yeah, they're a well-organized team. They know what they want in the field. They're a very patient team. They're a team that's not very big on possession and having the ball, but more patient and waiting for their opportunities. We see that in their chance count and their shots in the game. But what they do is they do it very effectively. From there, then on the flip side, I think we've been very good in the majority of those games, and like in all our games in this tournament, we just have to keep on doing the things that work well for us on the pitch, and we've addressed that in our games against Halifax. And we just need to keep at it. I think we just need to be a little bit more aggressive in the final third, and that will create more opportunities for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Charlie O'Connor-Clark.
Hey, Bobby. You guys have come into every game here at the Island Games with a different front 3. So I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit about the kind of tactical flexibility that you guys have in having so many different guys that can play these different roles up front.
Yeah, there's a few different reasons for that. One, we're playing a tournament in a short amount of time, and you want to try and keep guys as healthy as possible, as fresh as possible. Having the belief in our front players, I think, is very important to us. And it's worked out well for us in keeping most of the guys healthy throughout this event. It's allowed us to keep on scoring goals. We've scored the most goals here, and keeps everyone sharp, because on any given day we're going to need somebody in a different tactical role and a different set against a different opponent, and that gives me the flexibility to be able to do that, and also keeps the opponent guessing a little bit. So I think the rotation has worked good. Can we have more goals? Yes, but we're also talking about a team that scored the most goals here at the tournament. So of course we want more. We can do more, and tomorrow we'll probably continue on the trend of what our front 3 looks like.
And then I'll just ask you quickly about Kyle. I mean, he's nominated for Player of the Year twice in 2 years. How much is he kind of just the constant for your team and kind of the engine in the way that you guys play?
Yeah, it's 2 years, 2 championship games. He's one of the biggest reasons why we do it. So yeah, for our team, he's the most valuable player in the group, both on and off the field. He means a lot to the team, and he's a guy that relishes the opportunity to play in these games. And tomorrow's another big game for him. It's a big game for our club, and there's no better guy to have leading your team on the field than Kyle Becker.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you. Just a reminder, if you have a question for Coach Bobby, please use the raise hand icon in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The next question is from Armin Badakian. Go ahead, Armin.
Hi, Bobby. I just have two questions for you. The first one is, the last 4 times you've played Halifax, these games have ended in draws, 1-1, 2-2 draws. So I'm wondering, what do you think will be the difference needed in this final to finally break this deadlock? Is it going to take like a moment of quality, or maybe some defensive rigidity, a new tactical shift? Like, what do you need to do to, dig a hole and put Halifax in the ground?
Yeah, most importantly, we look at the 2 games from this year. 2019 means absolutely nothing. It's different teams, different season, different conditions. So when we look at the games from this year, it's been a pretty steady outlook on the game, on what's happened. One team that sits back, one team that possesses. So I think it could be something similar tomorrow, unless somebody's changing the script, and we've prepared ourselves for that. Also in the way we've played in the last couple of games, to make sure that we have every tactical area covered. We just need to be aggressive in what we do. When we're aggressive, we score goals. Where those goals come from doesn't really matter for us. We've had 26 players play for this club in 2 years, and of those 26 players, 21 have been on a score sheet. So we know we're going to get goals. We know that that's going to happen in the evolution of the game. We've tightened up our back end quite considerably over the last days. We've learned from a couple of mistakes playing against Halifax, and we know where their trend is and how they score and how they go about things. So I think it's just being sharp in different parts of the field, continuing what we're doing, which is scoring goals, allowing the least goals in this tournament, having the most wins. So if you continue on that trend, it's a good Saturday for us.
Thanks, Bobby. And my second question regards a sporting tradition, something that we've seen a lot throughout very different sports all around the world. It's the playoff beard and what happens to it after the team wins or finishes their season. We've seen you sport this new look all year long, but if you're lifting that trophy to your right, are we going to maybe see some changes soon after, or maybe for 2021?
All depends when I get home and what my 2 boys say. It's the COVID beard, so it started with lockdown, being at home and just doing something different. The boys love it, so it's their decision. If they say it goes, it goes. If they say it stays, it stays.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from Michael McCall.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, Bobby. Yeah, first, I've got 2 questions for you. First one's kind of a follow-up to what Charlie asked, just about Kyle Becker. Kyle's obviously had a couple of great seasons with yourselves. You obviously want to keep hold of him going forward, but he has apparently been attracting a lot of interest. Whitecaps out here in Vancouver seem to be interested in him. I take it you fully believe he has what it takes to go and play at the top level again in MLS.
Yeah, 100%. As a player, I could have told you that last year. I'll tell you that this year he can definitely play in a higher level. We're happy to have him here. He's happy with the organization and the project that's here. But of course, if something comes that is important for him, it's something that we discuss. But he's been excellent in the project of what we're trying to build here at Forge, not only now but going forward into the future. But of course, as a player, sometimes you want to play, not sometimes, I think you always want to play at the highest levels you can, and he's definitely a player who's done it in the past and can continue doing that in the future.
And just kind of changing track, I asked Stephen about this. I'm very curious on your opinions on it as well. Obviously, the Canadian Championship final spot is on the line for whoever wins the game tomorrow. No matter who gets that spot, just curious as to what your thoughts are on when that final should be played. TFC seem to be pushing for a December or January date, which would seem very unfair for either of you 2 teams when you've got such a big gap between playing competitively and then having to raise your game for a cup final.
Yeah, first it's something that's a little bit out of our hands. You know, we're dealing with COVID restrictions. I believe TFC is heading down to the U.S. for a long stretch of time. So I really don't know how that goes. You know, for us as a club, we've got a game ahead of us on October 20th in CONCACAF League that keeps us going. So we know that that's something ahead in our schedule if everything stays aligned. And the one thing I've learned about 2020 is nothing is normal, nothing is straightforward. So I hope that there's a solution to play the game, you know, sooner than later. But if it's later, everyone who is involved will have to prepare for that, and that's how it'll be. You know, we're here on an island for the last 6 weeks playing games, and what will be our 11th game tomorrow. So nothing has been straightforward. We just take it as it is, and we'll go from there.
And would you be up for playing a game in Ontario in December or January?
Yeah, why not? If that's when they say we play, we play. I'm not a person who will complain about things, who will, look for any excuses. It is what it is at this point. Yeah, if we can play it next week, great. If we can play it in 2 weeks, even better. If it's in December or January, we'll take that game, and whether it's us or Halifax, and we'll put our best foot forward.
That's great. Thanks so much, Bobby.
Thank you. We will have time for a second round of questions. If anyone who has already asked a question has another question, please use the raise hand icon. The next question is from Alexandre. Go ahead, Alex.
Thanks. Hey, Bobby. A lot of talk's been made of, your squad's experience. Obviously, you played in the final last year. You played CONCACAF League. You're going to play CONCACAF League again. Kind of how do you use that in a final like this, especially against a team like Halifax, where so many of their guys or they haven't been in a situation like this? Kind of what are you going to look for to kind of try to put the pressure on Halifax and kind of make them feel nervous and kind of feel that experience?
Yeah, in one way, these games help you because it's not your first time in the environment to play for something that's so important. And there's two ways of looking at that. Sometimes you go into a game and you have nothing to lose as a team. But sometimes it's understanding, the different pressure points that a game brings. The night before, the day of. It's something we've dealt with the championship last year, but also playing in CONCACAF and playing some very good teams at home, and then going into places like Guatemala and Honduras and having to compete and just understanding how to manage a squad at that point. And as coaches, I think one of our biggest roles is the environment we create around the game. That environment of making sure that the players are relaxed, and what we always want our players to know is that on their best day, they're the best team. But if you're not on your best day, there's a very good team that's going to be on the other side of the field that's ready to go, and they've got nothing to lose tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from Marty Thompson.
Hey, Bobby, maybe just to follow up on that, do you think that this environment where you've sequestered and been in a hotel for as long as you have, do you think that makes going into a knockout game like this maybe even a bit easier, or is it more difficult?
If you asked me 6 weeks ago, I'd say it's difficult. When you're here now and the players are dialed in, it's easy. The guys are relaxed. The guys are comfortable with what they've been doing. They know that they've been here now for 6 weeks to get to this point. So it's about going in and putting in another performance. And if you put in a performance, the hope is that after those 90, 95 minutes that we're able to do what we've done a year ago. So I think the guys are in a good frame of mind that way. They're all comfortable with the surroundings. They've been here long enough, and like they say, they give us a few more days in the bubble and we're good.
Fair enough. And then I wanted to ask about Garcia and Morelli, two players that have burned teams in this league. I mean, at times they've burned your side. Do you have a plan to counter them specifically, or is this more just a sort of all-round approach?
No, I think it's more of an all-around approach. It doesn't matter who we've played in the past. Whether it's in this league or in CONCACAF, we haven't zeroed in on players, but we also have to understand the spaces that those players work in, how we need to be set up, both when we attack and especially in the counter situations, which is where they're very, very dangerous, and just understanding our positioning. So it's making sure that guys occupy the zones when we're in possession, because you occupy those zones while we're in possession, it gives us better defensive shape. And that's the one thing that we've talked about, is just making sure we've got better defensive shape. Yeah, and don't turn the ball over in our own third of the field. I think that helps.
Fair enough, Bobby. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Armin Badakian.
Hi, Bobby. I remember from last year's final, a lot of the discussion was, Forge having earned their spot through the rules of the fall and spring season, whereas Cavalry won or were claiming that they'd actually won the regular season. Now that you've kind of made your way here with, first of all, not playing Cavalry in the final, how much do you think a win of the North Star Shield 2 years in a row will do to establish Forge FC as the top dog in this league? Is that something that you want? Is that something that you'd like to, make part of your club's identity as well?
Yeah, so the first part of that question is in 2019, there's one champion. That's Forge FC, right? We have a league, and we have to understand how the league works. The league works to qualify to play in a championship match. The same way it is here. We could sit here and say today that Forge has amassed the most points over 10 games, but what good is that if we don't lift the trophy tomorrow? There's only one trophy that the Canadian Premier League gives out every year. That's the only winner, that's the only champion. The rest is about qualifying. So I always say, give me a path on how I win a championship, and I'll figure out how I get there. We did that in 2019. We did that in this tournament by being the first team to qualify for the second round, not having to play a tough match against Valor, being able to rotate. We went into this next round, finished with the most points out of the group, but again, nobody will remember that in 3 to 4 years. So that's irrelevant. We take the path that the league gives us, and whichever the path that is every year, and we'll find the best route to get there. Make sure our players are healthy, make sure our players are peaking in the right moments, so that we can win. So if we have the ability to win tomorrow, that'll be great. That'll give us 2 trophies in a year, but it doesn't mean to take away anything from 2019, because that's clear. We look at the point today, and no team has won more games in the CPL than Forge over this 2-year period. No team has lost less games than Forge over this 2-year period that we're playing up till today, so I don't think that's a question in our head or in anyone in our room's head.
And another follow-up, Kyle Becker, there's already rumors starting that he could be potentially linked to the Vancouver Whitecaps. I'm sure losing a player like Becker would, feel like a punch in the face, but what have you seen from some of the new players that you've added to your roster this year? Do you feel confident that if Becker were to move on, that you'd have the pieces to replace him in midfield? And maybe you can touch on some of the other players that you think could make that jump to MLS as well.
Yeah, we're always going to be comfortable with losing a player of quality. We've done it last year with losing Tristan Borges, who's the MVP, and here we are again tomorrow playing for a championship. So we're not going to be defined by one player. And we love these players. We love Borges, we love Becker, and we hope they're with us for as long as, or Becker's with us for as long as he can compete at a high level. But if Becker or Edgar or Schweiner were to move along, we've always got a plan on what comes in to keep this team playing at a high level. The identity and the culture of the club is to compete for championships each and every year. We know in sport that if you've got a lot of things aligned and everything's in order, maybe you're able to do that, but there'll be years where you can't. We're fortunate enough to do it, but the one thing's for sure is we're not reliant on 1 to 2 players, and we've always got a plan to be able to keep on building. We built this team based on a 2-year plan and a 2-year project. And I think up until right now, and doesn't matter what happens tomorrow, I think the plan has worked for us on how we've built the squad, the culture we've built in the organization, and it only allows us to get better in the future with whoever player is on the pitch for us. The second part of the question, are there other players? Yeah, of course. Kwame Awua is the best left back. He's proved it in this tournament. Daniel Crutzen, what more quality do you want in a center back? A player who can play, who can move the ball, who can pass, who's an excellent 1v1 defender, who's got a vertical that tops most players in this league and wins almost everything in the air. He's a leader. So there's another guy. There's quite a few guys. David Schweiner has been excellent this year. Paulo Sabak is a player who's got immense quality and is doing the right things on the pitch. It's his first games over in the CPL, and we've had a sample of him for 10 games now, but I think the future is bright for him, and I'm sure I'm forgetting quite a few more names in there.
Bobby, just to follow up, does it bother you that more of your players haven't gotten MLS interest? I mean, we just saw Toronto FC bring in a youth player from Liverpool on loan to fill in at left back, but you've got Kwame Awuah killing it at the Island Games. Does it kind of bother you that these guys aren't getting more interest?
No, and the reason for that is MLS is not the only league in the world. So that's an important thing to know. As a club, we do a great job in the background with our networks and with discussions on different players, being able to move at different levels. And of course, if that's MLS, it's MLS. But it's not something that I have in the mind, or, it's not my business what TFC does, Vancouver or Montreal. They're responsible for their clubs. They're responsible for putting a winning product on the field, and they'll make the best choices that they have to make for their club. So that's never something in my mind. The one thing I know is we've got a lot of players who have the quality to keep on playing and keep on playing at the higher level. And whether that's, on this continent or on another one, I think that's something we'll always work with the guys to get to.
Thank you, Bobby.
Okay, thank you. It looks like we have one more question from Charlie O'Connor-Clark. Go ahead, Charlie.
Thanks. Hey, Bobby, I just remember after your guys' first game against Pacific, you said a bit about kind of the showcase for the league, because that was an exciting game and it was nationally broadcast. So just maybe what are your thoughts on kind of how big a moment this final is for the league and the sport in this country, even just the fact that we're going to have a champion handed out in 2020?
Yeah, 100%. It's massive. I think the coverage we've gotten has been excellent. The coverage on TV and obviously having games broadcast on CBC nationally have been excellent, and tomorrow will be another example of that. It's just allowing people to understand the quality of this game, the quality of our league, because we can talk about a million different other leagues, but the quality in this league is very good. There's fantastic players throughout all the clubs in this organization's teams that are doing the right things on the pitch, and I think tomorrow you have the two teams who have done it best in this tournament who are going to face off, and you have two teams who are a little bit contrasting in styles, and both styles work and both styles are very good, and that's the beauty of this game. So I think to the football purists, the one that really like the tactics, I think it's going to be an excellent game. I think to the casual observer, it's going to be an excellent game because it's a championship final. There's always going to be some drama. There's always going to be something going on. And in the end, yeah, we hope we've done the right things to come out on top tomorrow.
And then one more quick one, just kind of shifting gears here. We all know that you guys have obviously drawn twice against Halifax. Have you put any thought in training or whatever towards a possible penalty shootout?
No, to be honest, we have a thing we do. It's we weekly work on different set pieces. In those set pieces is penalty shots. So we've had the same mentality that we had last year coming into this year. So we've taken penalties as the routine training within the week, and that's about it. When you get into a game like this, it's if the game goes to that, it's 5 players from each team stepping up and picking their spot and going for it. And from there on in, it doesn't matter how much you train at it. It's whatever's going to happen at that moment. So for us, it hasn't had any special attention, just basically the weekly routine that we've gone into. In those situations, we know the same way we know who's on our corner kicks, penalties in the game, free kicks from different angles, who the guys are that are going to be stepping up to take the penalties. And we'll deal with that when we get to it, if we have to get to it.
Thanks very much, Bobby. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the questions for Coach Bobby. Coach, thank you very much for taking the time today. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.